microphone on and remember why we're here. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Could I invite you to confirm Councillor Addington as Chairman of the Council for her second year of office? Thank you very much. Quick and easy. Can I ask you to confirm Councillor David McRae as Vice Chairman for his second term as Vice Chairman? Thank you very much. Now, we have received apologies from Councillor Fraser, Councillor O'Brien, Councillor Shelton and Councillor Kindersley. Are there any others, Graham? Thank you. Are there any declarations of interest? Councillor Turner?
I'm a member of the board of the Ministry of Housing. I therefore disclose a pecuniary interest. I shall therefore leave this chamber for item 13.
Thank you. Any other? No. Thank you. Take note of the item 5, register of interest, and move on to item 6, minutes of the last 2 meetings. I'll take them page by page. On page 1 of your agenda, page 1 of the meeting on the 25th of February, page 2, page 3, page 4. Councillor Murphy?
Yes, indeed, bit against. Second paragraph there, I think there's a word being left out. Final sentence. Councillor Cotting reiterated this was a high-level what?
Doctor. Okay, thank you, Councillor Murphy. Councillor page 5, yes. Councillor Murphy? Okay.
Right. Page 5, penultimate paragraph, first sentence. Council will have the ability to raise capital tax by £5 as
Opposed. Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Page 6, page 7, page 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Is it your wish I sign these as correct? And the meeting on the 23rd of March, on page 17, page 1, page 2, Councillor Murphy.
Page 18 in the agenda, third paragraph, a letter had subsequently been received by the inspectors. I think that probably should be from the inspectors.
Thank you. Page 19, 20, 21. Is it your wish I sign these minutes as correct? Councillor Rodgie?
Yes, sorry, to go back to the point that Councillor Murphy raised on page 18, should it be May 2015?
Yes.
Do you know where we are? Oh, I see. Yeah. Thank you. So can I sign them as correct with those slight amendments? Thank you. We move on to item 7, report of the returning officer. For noting, but can we welcome to the council, Councillor Cattermole? Would you like to stand up and wave so that people see your face? John Batchelor, and those of us who are old enough remember his face. And Councillor Tregain. Thank you very much. Now we move on to elections. Have we a proposal? We have a proposal. Councillor Oates.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I'm absolutely delighted to propose Councillor Pete Topping for the role of leader of the Council. I know Councillor Topping is a very experienced councillor. He has a wealth of background experience as well, and I'm sure he can do a fantastic job. He has of course, got a very difficult act to follow, because when Councillor Manning and I took on the job of leader and deputy, I was very, very fortunate to be paired up with someone like Councillor Manning. And I think that over the last 9 years, we've both worked as a very reliable, effective and a close team. And almost immediately taking up posts, we were both green as anything. We were required to tiptoe through this minefield of a corporate governance inspection. And let's face it, at the time, the council was on the cusp of being put into special measures. And yet, he soldiered on. Took us through an improvement programme that lasted, 2 years? And I remember at the time going through this programme. It was very, very difficult, but we were blessed. We were blessed with the presence of a certain councillor, Vicky Ford, who's now a prominent NEP. Now, if this wasn't punishment enough, on one particular training course, I recall that we were all required to complete a Myers-Briggs type indicator assessment. And right at the extreme of this assessment on one side was Councillor Ray Manning, and equally far on the extreme on the other side was Councillor Vicky Ford. I mean, you couldn't have got two people who could have been so further apart, but and by rights they should have murdered each other after 5 minutes of meeting. But it was then I really appreciated one of Ray's great qualities, and that being he had the patience of a saint. He somehow pulled us all together, smoothed over any differences of opinion, and just used his patience to get us through this really difficult time. Under Ray's leadership, we made the improvements we needed to, we changed the way we worked, and we generally put this house back in order. It took patience, it took sacrifices, but above all, it took leadership. Take the Greater Cambridge City deal, for example. There are a few people that I know that could have pulled together the three leaders of the county, the city, and us. 2 Conservative councils and 1 Lib Dem council at the time, and he pulled it off brilliantly. And Ray gave me some excellent advice at that time. He said the most important thing when entering an agreement with the Lib Dems was trust. You have to make sure they're thoroughly trust before you try and be tricky. I'm going to miss Councillor Manning's wit, and I'm going to miss Councillor Manning sitting at the head of the table in cabinet and leaders meetings. I'm going to miss all those anecdotes about practice. Those hours we whiled away talking about Victoria Plums and Fox's Pickens, and all those training courses that we attended. But most of all, I'm going to miss his leadership. He was tough when he had to be. He was fair when he didn't need to be. He was generous when it was undeserved. And he was gracious when others wouldn't have been. The sacrifices that Ray made for this council should never be underestimated. And I'm certain that if they were fully known to our residents, they too would be especially grateful for his 9 years of service as leader. So Ray, on behalf of the whole district, thank you very, very much.
Did rather sound as if you were dead. I'm very glad you're not. We may have disagreed on numerous occasions, but I'd far rather you were here and in good health. Being a leader is never easy. It's like being a boss. You can't, you are doomed not to be everybody's friend. It is not an enviable task. You have shown strong leadership the whole time. You have held your group together as a big group, and that must have had its challenges. And you have undoubtedly steered this council very successfully through the financial constraints that have been thrown at us over the last few years. And the fact that my group supported the budget in the last year, I think for the first time ever, actually showed that we would have struggled ourselves to do things differently. So thank you for that. I'm glad you're not disappearing altogether, and we look forward to being able to spar on the backbenches in the future. Thank you.
Can I have a seconder for Councillor Topping? Councillor Harford?
Thank you, Chairman. But of course, I have only ever known one leader prior to today, in all the time that I've been a councillor. But I do endorse all the things that I've heard said about him, and I thank you for inducting me into this role. But now I will second my respected colleague, Councillor Topping. This is somebody that I serve with on both this council and the county. And of course, he brings the wealth of experience that he has of the years of working as a senior civil servant with experience across 3 different government departments. I think we all know the which shoes to fill. I think he knows that, but I'm absolutely delighted to second his information.
Can I, before we take a vote on that, can I go back to Councillor Cathcart, who had his hand up earlier?
Just briefly, I'd like to take on what's been said about council. I think I've worked with it for some time. It struck me, being an enthusiast for classic cars, especially Riley's, of Ray Manning shares much in common. They're both extremely well built. They're both undestructibly British. They are conceived and built about the same time, the late 40s, early 50s. The steering is very, very sound. If they sustain damage, they can actually be repaired, and they can drive them on again and you would scarcely notice the damage. And even when they're retired from active service, I'm sure they can still be brought out again and shown considerable effect in display. So like the old Rileys, I'm sure that our former leader will go on forever and still make a significant contribution. And also, actually, Riley's our leader is actually very handsome and good to look at as well. Thank you.
Councillor de Lacy?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Like Councillor Harford, I've not known another leader, so I really have nothing to compare Ray to. But like the others who have spoken today, I would like to thank him for his leadership when I first became a councillor and through all the periods since, and wish him well in his retirement, though I'm sure it won't be much of a retirement, since I'm sure that you will still put all that you can into helping this council and this district, Ray. But I would like, on my own behalf, and I hope on behalf of my group as well, to wish Ray well in his retirement. Thank you.
Councillor Roberts?
Thank you, Chairman. I'm somewhat disappointed that this is still being called an election today, because if people had read the Cambridge Evening News, this was already announced as a done deal. I think it was yesterday's paper. So I find it extremely annoying that it's actually called an election, where in fact it appears to be a coronation. I'm also extremely disappointed as somebody who, along with Councillor Cathcart, the two longest serving members who have remembered this council and how things have been done over many, many years. And I clearly, as some others do, remember Daphne Spink, who was the first leader of this council when we went from chairmanships to leaderships. But I have to say, I find it a great disappointment that every single one of us in this room has not had the opportunity to actually decide who we think is best fitted for the leadership of this council. There are two people I understood whose names went forward, and one group has chosen one person out of it. I just think it's a great shame that the two names, both very able candidates, names didn't go forward for us all to decide upon. And as far as I'm concerned, once again, this is not my leader.
Thank you for the
We will now go to the vote for this council, and the candidate is Councillor Topping as leader. Are there any other nominations? In that case, do you wish to press the button? Are you happy to go? Agreed. So I would ask Councillor Topping to come and take the lead seat. So thank you very much for your attendance.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sometimes seem to prefer that.
Can we just wait for a minute?
I would like to say some things quickly. I take the hint. But first of all, I would like to take this opportunity to announce my cabinet and invite them to come forward. And so they are Councillor Francis Birkin, Greater Cambridge City Deal, portfolio holder; Councillor Linda Harford, Housing, portfolio; Councillor Robert Turner, Planning; Councillor Simon Edwards, Finance and Staffing; Councillor Mark Howell, Environmental Services; Councillor Tim Wotherspoon, Strategic Planning and Transportation; Councillor Mick Martin, Corporate Customer and Shared Services. I'd like to invite those colleagues to come forward. While that is happening, I'm going to say things about two people very briefly. First of all, I'd like to thank Councillor Nick Wright for the work that he has done on cabinet for many years, particularly in the sphere of planning, but more recently on economic development. And I'd just like to say that he has done a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of building this part of Cambridgeshire as a business-friendly environment that wants to work with some of our world-beating organisations here. I think it's very important that working with the local enterprise board is something that I'm going to do, but I'm conscious that Councillor Nick Wright has done the heavy lifting for, and I'm grateful for. The second person I'd like to briefly mention is Councillor Ray Manning. When I came onto this council, along with Councillor Bridget Smith, we were still in the shadow of some of the problems that have beset this council. And it is a very different council today, and that is the contribution of Ray Manning. The other thing that I know about Ray Manning is that when he goes down to Whitehall, he scares the living daylights out of civil servants because they do not know how to handle someone like Councillor Ray Manning. Because he talks and tells it like it is, and they're not used to that. I know because I used to be a civil servant. But he has been an effective fighter of this council and the residents of this area doing business with the mandarins and the ministers in Whitehall. That would be a very hard act to follow. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
I have two other speakers. Councillor De Lacy.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm delighted to be the first formally to welcome Councillor Topping into his position. He and I joined as councillor at the same time. We have worked together in various ways since then, and I'm very pleased to see him where he is at the moment. I hope he realises what huge shoes he is stepping into and how much time it's going to take. But I would like to invite him to reach out to the opposition parties who have a great deal to contribute to this council at this time, and I'm delighted to be given the prospect of working with him from now on. Thank you very much.
Councillor Hawkins.
Thank you, Chair. My question actually was relating to the vote that we just cast. Once I congratulate Councillor Topping on his election as leader, I just want to clarify what this, I mean, if those of us who didn't vote agree, is there a way of actually registering that?
It was
That's been an
unanimous agreement. The council indicated that they were happy to elect.
No, they didn't.
No.
There's only one motion, there is no vote.
Right, we will move on. Questions from announcements? I think we've done all our announcements. Questions from the public? We haven't got any. Petitions? We haven't got any. So we move on to item 12 to consider the following recommendations. And Councillor Orgy.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, I'm happy to propose the change in the name of the Corporate Governance Committee to the Audit and Corporate Governance Committee. You may think this is a relatively small change, and why do we bother about wording changes like this? But at the committee meeting where we made this recommendation, it was felt there are two important reasons for such a change. First of all, at that meeting and at many other meetings of this committee, most, if not all, of the agenda was actually concerned with audit as opposed to anything else. And so one of the reasons for the change is that the name more accurately reflects the work of the committee. And the second reason was that if you remember the public and you wanted to see something about the audit work carried out by the council, it wasn't clear where you should look. And therefore, in terms of public transparency, this change of name would be helpful as well. So those were the two main reasons put forward in the discussions for the change of name. The committee was virtually unanimous on the day. I say virtually unanimous on the day because one member of the committee who couldn't attend, in fact the gentleman sitting next to me, actually sent in some comments because he wasn't happy with the change. But overwhelming majority of the committee felt, for the two reasons I've given, that we should make this change.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder, Councillor Wright?
I'm happy to second it. You know, it's saying what the committee does. It's the name on the can. I'd like to second it. Thank you.
Thank you. Are we in favour?
Yes.
Are there any dissenters? Thank you. Move on to item 13. Urban Street House. Oh, thank you, Mr. Urban Street Housing Limited. Councillor Harford.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't think anybody here is ignorant of the fact that Urban Street Housing has proved already to be a great success, and that it's achieved that success under the hand of our director, current director, Stephen Hills. He is doing a fabulous job, and I hope that he will more be ready to improve his really appointment.
Thank you.
Chairman, I second the nomination and reserve our right to speak if there's a need to object.
Are we content to approve the reappointment of Stephen Hills? Agreed. Could somebody ask Councillor Turner to return, please? Thank you. Right, moving on to item 14, political proportionality and allocation of seats to committees. Councillor Topping.
Thank you, Chair. I've only got two things to say on this. The numbers, the mathematics that we worked out by the officers, and that's where it should be. I'm content with that. The second thing is that the proposals from the Conservative group in terms of nominations for members of committees, chairs and vice chairs of committees are as at Annex A.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Fully reiterate exactly what the leader has just said on that. We've got the chairs and vice chairs in front of us, and I propose to second those nominations going forward. Thank you.
Are we content to go, Councillor?
If we come to the chairs and vice chairs, could be taken in order.
I was expecting to go to B, and I was only doing A at the moment. Okay?
Right.
So this is 14A, the allocation of seats on committees. Are we happy with that? Let's do it one step at a time. Right, we move on to 14B, the nominations of political group leaders to seats on the committees. Are we content with that? Councillor Riley.
Sorry, I have a copy of Appendix B, I think we all have. Is this what, do people think we are about to block vote through the whole of Appendix B, or remain as Appendix B?
Apart from the chairs and vice chairs.
Well, because there were some changes made by the Conservative group to their nomination.
This is a new page sheet, which
Oh,
you should have
well,
got, Councillor
there
Riley.
was one in my picture. Okay.
Right, okay, it's very bad English. Content now, Councillor. Right, so we're doing 14B, the nominations of political group leaders to seats on committees. Yeah, fine. And we're happy about that. So now can we move on to the chairs and vice chairs? And I'll ask Councillor Topping just to go through the chairs and vice chairs, and we can go through them one at a time as you request, Councillor White. Councillor Topping.
Thank you, Chair. I may need some constitutional guidance because, of course, civic affairs. I'll do my best. But I don't want to get any noises, alarm. So, I was asking for some constitutional advice because the first committee is civic affairs, and I don't think it's within the gift, my gift, to do other than recommend that the chairman of the council, Councillor Sillett, should be the chair of the civic affairs.
Councillor Hart.
Does that mean you're asking for other nominations? Is this the moment where we are allowed to nominate alternative candidates?
So it's me Normally, civic affairs is chaired by the Vice Chairman is proposed as Councillor Nightingale. Are there any other nominations?
Yes, I'd like to, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Councillor Bridget Smith as Vice Chair of Civil Affairs.
Do you have a second? Councillor White. Councillor De Lacy, did you wish to speak, or were you seconded?
I was simply seconding, Chairman.
All right. We also have Councillor White. Right. So for Vice Chair of Civil Affairs, we have Councillor Nightingale, proposed by Councillor Topping and seconded by myself, and Councillor Smith, proposed by Councillor Hart, seconded by Councillor White. Right. So we need to have a vote. Yes. Yeah. So would you two like to approve, please? Councillor Nightingale, you? As there are just two candidates, I propose that Councillor Nightingale is the red button and Councillor Smith is the green button. Okay? So if you wish to vote for Councillor Nightingale, press the red button. If you wish to vote for Councillor Smith, press the green button. Are you all voting?
Yes. Yes.
Great. We appear to have a technical error. Can we do it again, please? Red button for Councillor Nightingale, green button for Councillor Smith. Are we all voted? Can we try again, Brian? Oh, we got a picture. Could you move the cursor? So, Councillor Nightingale is the no button, which was the red button, and got 32, and Councillor Smith got 19. Can we, therefore, Councillor Nightingale is elected. Wait for them to return. Councillor Topping, can you announce corporate governance, please, or make your proposal for corporate governance?
Corporate governance proposal for chairman is Andrew Fraser. Would you like to propose the vice chair?
Yes, sir.
That will be Councillor Nick Wright.
Are there any, no, let's have a seconder first. Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Corney, do we have any other nominations? No other nominations, they are unanimously elected. Right. Moving on to employment, then, please, Councillor Topping.
Thank you, Chair. So employment is Councillor Ray Manning, Councillor Val Barrett.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Corney. Do we have any other nominations? No, so those two are elected. Thank you. Right, can we do licensing now, please, Councillor Topping?
Certainly, Chair. Councillor Alex Riley for Chair of Licensing, Councillor Raymond Matthews for Vice Chair of Licensing.
Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Corney. It's another hand position. Do we have any other nominations? Those two are elected. Can we move on to planning?
Chair for Planning is Councillor David Barr as Chairman and Councillor Kevin Cuffley, Vice Chair.
Can we have a seconder for that, please? Councillor Barrett. Any other nominations? Councillor Smith.
Thank you. Could we take them separately in order, please? I would like to nominate for the chairmanship of planning Councillor John Batchelor.
Do we have a seconder for that?
Yes.
Councillor Bradley. Thank you. Any other nominations? Would Councillor Bard and Councillor Batchelor please leave the room? Right. Again, we only have two candidates, so can we take Councillor Bard on the red button and Councillor Batchelor on the green button? Has everybody voted? Great. Right. Councillor Bard at 32 and Councillor Barrett 19. Councillor Bard is therefore Chairman of Planning. Could you ask him to come up, please? Are there any other nominations for Vice Chairman of Planning? Councillor Smith?
I'd like to nominate Councillor John Batchelor as Vice Chair.
Councillor Bard is elected. Thank you. As Chairman. You're seconding Vice Chair. Would you like to go out again, Councillor Batchelor? And would Councillor Cuffley, please? Right. So, Councillor Cuffley is the red button this time, and Councillor Barrett is the green button. Oh, sorry. Everybody voted?
No. Say that again.
Right, sorry. Councillor Cuffley is the red button, and Councillor Batchelor is the green button. Have you all voted now? Yes. Thank you, Graham. Councillor Cuffley has 32, Councillor Batchelor has 19. Councillor Cuffley is therefore elected. Councillor Cuffley is elected as Vice Chairman of Planning Committee. Partnerships review.
Chair, for Partnerships Review, I nominate Councillor Ben Shelton as Chair. I nominate Councillor Bunty Waters as Vice Chair.
Are there any? No, let's have a seconder first. Have we a seconder? Right, Councillor Chamberlain. Do we have any other nominations? Councillor Wyatt?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Batchelor as Vice Chair.
Councillor which Batchelor? I'm sorry. Henry. I do have to be clear on these things. Thank you. Do I have a seconder for Councillor Henry Batchelor? Councillor Williams. Thank you. So Ben Shelton is not here, so I'm afraid you have to go on your own, Councillor. Oh, it was the vice. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't quite catch what you said, Councillor Wyatt. Okay, so Councillor Waters and Councillor Batchelor, please. We have no opposition. on the red button and Councillor Henry Batchelor on the green button. Are we all voted? Yes. Right. Councillor Waters is Vice Chairman of Partnership Review. Councillor Waters, you are elected. Scrutiny and overview. Councillor Topping, please.
Scrutiny and overview is Councillor Tony Orgy as Chair, Councillor Gretel Chamberlain as Vice Chair.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Cuffley. Councillor Smith.
Can we take them individually, please? I would like to nominate Councillor Jose Hales for Chair of the Scrutiny and Overview Committee, as is best practice.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Hales? Councillor Henry Batchelor. Right, thank you. So would Councillor Orgy and Councillor Hales please leave the room? Right, can we have Councillor Orgy on the red button and Councillor Hales on the green button, please? Has everybody voted? Has everybody voted? Thank you. Great. Right. Councillor Orgy is elected. Thank you.
Chairman.
Councillor De Lacey.
Point of order, for those of us who can't see those tiny figures, could you please read out the numbers as well?
All right, it's 32 and 19.
What is it?
Councillor Orgy, you are elected.
Thank you.
Councillor Smith.
I would like to nominate Councillor Jose Hales as Vice Chair of the Scrutiny and Overview. And I'm given to have sympathy with the ex-Councillor Page, who used to bar like a sheep at times like this.
Can Councillor
Madam
Hales?
Chairman, can I just have a point of order here? I seem to be being picked on. I'm the only one who has to keep going out the
It's really nothing personal. So, can we have Councillor Chamberlain on the red button and Councillor Hales on the green button? Vote now. Has everybody voted? Thank you, Graham. Oh, we've had a change. We have 30 from Councillor Chamberlain and 20 from Councillor Councillor Chamberlain, you have been elected.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Right, so we should be able to... Right, we're 14D now, the reappointment of Grant Osborne and Gillian Holmes as our independent person. And I am proposing that. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Nightingale. Sorry, Councillor Williams, you wish to speak.
Thank you, Chair. Just ask a question. First of all, how long have these two nominees been in post, and is there a limit to their term of office?
I will have to seek advice from them.
4 years and there's no limit.
Thank you. So I propose, Councillor Nightingale has seconded, can we elect them en bloc? Thank you. Right. Moving on to item 15, appointment to outside joint and other member bodies for 2016-17. Councillor Topping.
Thank you, Chair. The list of outside bodies nominations are before you. I'd like to particularly wish Councillor Tregoning all the best on the outside body that she's nominated to. I'm proposing this. I don't know whether Councillor Smith or someone else would like to second it. Of course, it's a matter for them, but I propose it.
Councillor Smith.
Thank you. I'm happy to second this.
Thank you. Can we therefore elect them? Agreed. Thank you. Right. Moving on to item 16.
Chairman.
Councillor Glazer, sorry.
Point of order, Chairman. The Joint Development Control Committee doesn't seem to have been appointed to. Is that a mistake?
It's on the end of the nominations for committees on the last page.
Oh.
So we did it as part
Which
of
I have
B
not got.
on this
Thank you.
agenda.
Okay, I'm moving on to item 16. The Joint Scrutiny and Overview Committee and Partnership Review Committee annual reports. They are to be noted and they are within your there's no level. Noted, Noted?
Noted.
Thank you. We move then on to item 17. Councillor Smith. Your report is, but I assume you...
I do, thank you. It's a highlight of my years. So, right. I have a 17-year-old son who's doing A-level politics, and he asked me what I was doing today. I told him I had this speech, so he asked me to read it to him. He said he thought I was very mean, and I said that actually I could be a lot meaner. So, welcome first of all to the 3 new councillors, particularly warm welcome because they're all mine, so that's lovely for a change. So, there's quite a lot of change on the front bench since I wrote my report, which is the report which is in your pack, so what I'm going to say now is going to be somewhat different. So, the king is dead, and long live the king. And what a missed opportunity it has been to say long live the queen. But at least after 2 years of gazing upon a very grey, all-male cabinet, there's now an extremely welcome flash of femininity in the form of Councillor Harford. Let's hope that she is the first of many. As we've already heard, I arrived on this council at the same time as the new leader, Councillor Topping, and at the same time as the old leader, Councillor Manning, took the helm. The good thing about Councillor Manning's strong leadership model was that one always knew exactly what he was going to do, what he was going to say, and how he was going to vote. Will things be any different now that we're moving into a new regime? Will Councillor Topping merely emulate his predecessor? Will he be his own man, or will he merely be his party's man? But these are small questions in comparison to the big ones facing us as a result of the complex local government world that we now inhabit. Let's start with the city deal. The deal was struck, worked up and designed by Councillor Manning, who has readily informed this council when asked that everything was going swimmingly. But we now learn from his extremely long resignation speech from Cambridge News that he thinks it is a big disappointment. What will Councillor Topping's view be? Will he be working with and supporting the City Deal Assembly and Board, or will he be challenging them? How will he ensure that South Cambs gets its fair share of the deal? Will he be taking his arguably rightful position on the board, or be leaving it to Councillor Birkin, which I think Councillor Birkin's position in front of us shows that will be the latter? And so on to the local plan, the implementation of which the city deal is meant to be supporting. The current Conservative local plan is suspended, and there have been no guarantees that it will ever be adopted. The current plan gives high-level protection to the green belt, which is popular with most people in this council, undoubtedly popular with South Cambs residents living in or near the green belt, and deeply unpopular with the city, the county, and with most developers. How will Councillor Topping manage these conflicts? Will he stick by the current plan, but as soon as the new combined authority plan is on the agenda, drop all the green belt protection in the face of such powerful objections? How will he balance the need for housing against the need to protect our district from urban creep? And on the subject of housing, Councillor Manning in the Cambridge News said, "It's ridiculous. The housing and the way it's going is just silly." How will Councillor Topping reconcile the fact that the main obstacle to affordable housing is the Conservative government and their horrendous housing bill? We've heard an awful lot of wailing and weeping from the front benches on the subject, but the fault does lie with your government and the policies on which you canvass, and it's all of us, including you, who have to pick up the pieces. Councillor Manning also referred to shared services in his interview as one of a number of onerous balls which he had to keep up in the air at any one time. Shared services were sold to us as a means of saving money, but once it became obvious that many of these savings were not sustainable, it became all about resilience. All along, assurances were given that there would be no reduction in service levels. Will Councillor Topping stand by those assurances in the light of so much evidence to the contrary? Does he think it's acceptable that members have little if any in-house legal support? How will he respond to my resident, recently given a Community Champion Award for voluntarily manning our street sweepers, who now tells me in an email this week that we have further reduced our service levels for street cleaning from once every 2 months to once every 3 months for every village, and that even he, a volunteer, may not now be able to access the sweeper when he's free. And finally on to devolution, about which Councillor Manning had a lot to say in this interview, but on which subject he managed to stay fairly firmly on the fence. What will Councillor Topping do if and when this comes back? Will he be able to put the very special needs of South Cambs before the undoubted pressures to toe the party line? And how will Councillor Topping manage the demands of this big job? Councillor Manning tells us it takes up to 30 hours per week. Will that allow enough time for Councillor Topping to pursue his much-tweeted interests of messing about in boats and his unfortunate proclivity for tweeting pictures of his dinner? We shall wait and see. And in the meantime, we shall wait and see, and in the meantime, we wish him the very best of luck.
Thank you very much. Right, we move on then to item 18. And Councillor Simon Edwards to take this item.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, this is the usual report that we have to note at this annual meeting. It is just for noting. Just a reminder that really it's an indication, it's good accounting practice to write off debts that we have no hope whatsoever of recovering. And it's good practice to get them off the books. On page 53, you'll see the performance of previous years. Very pleased to see this year that I haven't, as portfolio holder, had to write off any big ticket items. You'll see in 13-14 it was £500,000, 14-15, 438,000. I've had to write nothing of that order off this year, which is very good. There are one or two other trends that are of interest. Housing benefit overpayments. For the new members, housing benefit overpayments sound very much like a mistake on our part, that we've actually paid out too much money. Well, they are a mistake in the sense that we have paid out too much money, but they come about because of residents who don't advise us of their change of circumstances. So if people don't tell us of the change of circumstances, we don't know to change the amount of benefits that they are being given. And so we have to claw those benefits back when the change of circumstances are highlighted to us, and there's an interim period we claw those back. and they're often quite difficult to claw back depending on the size of the benefit. You'll see that they've actually crept up, and these aren't actually in-year overpayments. These are write-offs that could stretch back a number of years, in fact. But they are creeping up, 80,000, 101 and 148. I'm hopeful that this is going to start trending downwards now, because as you know, we've refreshed our website. There's a lot of self-service going on now, so any residents who want to tell us about change of circumstances can do it via our website. We will get to know about it a lot quicker, and we will be able to reduce our overpayments. It's not something I'm overly concerned about now, but it's something I will be tracking into the future. Apart from that, Chair, there's nothing else I want to say other than I'm happy for us to know this report. Thank you.
Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Chair. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank our benefits and revenue staff for the tremendous job that they've done, particularly this year because of all the changes that we've had, all government changes that we've had with things like benefits. I may have got this wrong, but I'm a bit puzzled as to why the figures that have been given in this report are different to the figures that were given to the committee, to the Finance and Staffing Portfolio Holders meeting on the 19th of April in relation to housing benefit overpayment. In the report that was given to the Portfolio Holders meeting, we had for the year 2015-16, we were given a figure of £68,986 rather than the £148, £973.80, which is on this table, and that we were told that the target is 5% maximum, and yet we are told that actually the overpayment represents 11.92%. So I'd like an explanation as to why these figures are different. It may well be that I'm misunderstanding this, or that these were not up to date when we received them at the committee.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, very grateful for the question, because it does highlight what I was trying to put across and didn't quite manage it. And that the report that comes to my portfolio holder meeting tells us about the in-year housing benefit payments. And so that's just the in-year performance. And as you rightly say, the revenues and benefits team have done a superb job this year, particularly in collecting the money that's owed to us. I think they have exceeded every single target, well not target, every single level of collections that we've ever had before. This has been an outstanding year. And we are the best authority in Cambridgeshire now with our collections, which is fantastic. The report that's in front of us is the amount of money we're writing off. This is an accounting process. And as I said, these could span a number of years. So it's a total amount of money that we're just taking off the books, where we acknowledge that we will never be able to collect this money, unfortunately. And so there's the difference. The portfolio holder figure is the in-year benefits numbers. This could span a number of different years.
Thank you. So, we have noted the write-offs. Okay. Item 19, Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just going to ask if you would mind that if we withdrew this item from the agenda, I would rather like this to come through Cabinet first. Normally it would have come through Cabinet for a discussion first on some of the detail before it got to here for approval, and I'd much rather it went through Cabinet and possibly in corporate governance as well, just to give it the final one time. I know Councillor Williams would be very keen to do that. So if we could withdraw this, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. So we move on to questions from councillors. And I understand Councillor Kindersley is unable to be with us today, but Councillor Hart is going to ask a question on his behalf.
Thank you, Chairman. The question stands as on the agenda.
And Councillor Topping is going to respond.
Thank you, Chair. If I understand the question correctly, it's about, is the matter of devolution a matter for this council and it undoubtedly is. Is it a matter for us as leaders of our communities? It undoubtedly is. I have been elected as leader of this council, but everyone in this room, every councillor in this room is a leader of their communities. And this is a very important matter and we should take it seriously. I have asked the Chief Executive to arrange a seminar on the 7th of June. Obviously, we'll have to check diaries and calendars. But I want everyone in this room to have a good understanding of what devolution is being proposed. And one of the reasons why that is important is because, as we know, as we all know, the devolution proposition has been changing. We have been fighting, and other people have been fighting to get a very good deal for the people of South Cambridgeshire, and we will continue to do so. So what may be for discussion and digestion on the 7th of June might well be in some ways different to what was taught some months ago. But Councillor Manning was absolutely right to commit to enable devolution to be discussed. He had to do that so that we could keep the prospect on the table for us to work through it, rather than dismiss it, out of hand, gone, never to be returned. I believe that if we can have a sensible discussion on the 7th of June and go forward to a discussion and a debate and a vote later on in that month, that is what we should do, and it will be for the benefit of our residents. Councillor De Lacy asked me whether I will be reaching out. One of the things that I should like to do is have discussions with Councillor De Lacy and Councillor Smith as necessary on some of these aspects, so that we can reach what I hope can be a consensus on what is best for the people of South Cambridgeshire. Thank you.
Do you have a follow-up, Councillor Hart?
Yes, I do, Chairman. Well, while I welcome some of the modifying aspects that have been thrown to us, I do find it odd, and I found it odd when Councillor Manning briefed us earlier in the year, that we have to stay at the table in order to be able to reject something, especially when other council leaders were able to make that decision forthwith. So my follow-up question is, I assume we're going to be able to vote on this issue at the 28th of June meeting. Will the leader be bound by that vote?
Councillor Topping?
The principle and spirit of democracy, I can think of no other reason not to.
Sorry, I think we're going to miss that. A little bit louder.
Sorry, I was getting all pompous and saying in the spirit of democracy, I can think of no reason why would not be bound by that vote.
Is that a yes or a no vote?
I'm saying I will be, if there was a vote, I will be bound by the results of that vote. And that's how democracy works, as I understand it.
Thank you.
I trust that will be recorded in the minutes. Clear.
Councillor Smith, your question, please.
Would you like questions as on the papers?
Thank you. Councillor Burkett?
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Smith, I think there are really three parts to your question. The first is what's been happening in the last 2 or 3 months. So you're absolutely right. The Greater Cambridge City deal, note, I said that I try and always avoid using the word city deal. It is the Greater Cambridge City deal. It's been quite 2 or 3 months. Because we're a combined authority with the other 2 councils, we have to observe the purdah that the city councils had during the city council elections. That's obviously ended now, but that's why there hasn't been a meeting of the Greater Cambridge City deal, either assembly or board, for the last 2 or 3 months. It's all going to burst into life next week. I hope you've all received an email inviting you to an all-councillor meeting on Tuesday night at the Shire Hall. That is all councillors from all three councils, where there will be a briefing on our agenda items. So it's all going to burst into life next week. Here is a final draft of what's going to be announced. Councillor Smith, if I can pick up on your major opposition group leader's speech. I recognise that the Greater Cambridge City Deal has the potential to threaten the quality of life for our residents, but it has the potential to improve the quality of our life for our residents enormously. That's what excites me about it. That's what I will be championing, and I genuinely believe it can improve the quality of life of our residents. I will be championing free parking and park and ride. I will be championing park and cycle facilities, and I will be championing subsidised rural bus services. Now, we're not going to get it tomorrow morning. What I've learned about all of this is there's engagement and there's consultation, and it takes a long time, but I'm absolutely on that side. The second part of your question is when would I start having portfolio holder meetings? I'm going to disappoint you by saying I'm not. I regard the City Deal Assembly and Board meetings as effectively being the portfolio holder meetings. This is a combined authority. As we've said before, we have joined our authority with our two partners. We are a trinity. We are a combined authority. We have a lot of meetings at the Greater Cambridge City Deal. That is what I regard as the equivalent of the portfolio holder meetings. I simply don't think we can have any form of them and us relationship. We are them, they are us. Finally, the third part of your question is scrutiny. I think this came to Corporate Governance Committee when we started this sort of 2 years ago, and it was agreed any scrutiny of the City Deal, the Greater Cambridge City Deal, would be done by a scrutiny committee. I can't scrutinise myself. So if the scrutiny committee wants to scrutinise the Greater Cambridge City Deal, it's more than welcome to do so, but that wouldn't be for me. Thank you.
Do you have a follow-up?
Thank you. Right. Okay, well, that's very interesting. I was going to ask a supplementary to say, did you think it was morally right that you are the only person on the City Deal Board of the Assembly who receives an allowance exclusively for that role? But another question has come to light. So I'm going to ask this question as my follow-up. Is there any truth to the widespread rumour that the City Deal Board have been having closed meetings to decide what elements of the current city access study to go forward for discussion to the City Deal Assembly? And is this not the complete opposite of what the governance dictates is the right and proper process?
We do have informal meetings when officers brief us on what's going on. I make no secret of that whatsoever. It's that that enables me to know what's going on. I find it incredibly useful. I think actually the transport officers, the housing officers and the skills officers, in fact we're seeing the skills officer this afternoon, are briefing us very well. I need that, and we all need that to learn what's going on.
Thank you. Right, moving on to question. Councillor Roberts.
Point of order, really, Chairman. I'm feeling as though I'm sitting here listening to David Cameron talking about his European market comrades on why we should stay here rather than a councillor.
We will move on to question C from Councillor Van der Weer.
Thank you very much. To start with, I'd like to say that I hope that this issue does not detract from the excellent work that our officers, the officers of the council, in particular in the housing department, do with gypsy and tribal communities in our district. This is vital work that doesn't get nearly enough praise. The story that this question relates to was published over 6 weeks ago. I didn't write it, I had no involvement of it in it. To my knowledge, no one has responded to it. But I think it is essential that we do respond. This question, I think, provides our leadership with an opportunity to confirm that they agree that it is crucial that we all avoid any perception of prejudice. While prejudice persists in our society, and in particular the one we're talking about here, against gypsies and travellers, which is, we have to admit, very widespread, I believe that our rejection of such prejudice bears repeating. More specifically, this is a good moment to address a problem with how our planning system works and how it is perceived. On the one hand, there is a perception that planning rules are biased in favour of gypsies and travellers, And if they pay the system, they can get permissions that others would not be able to get. I'm sure we all know cases where this seems to have happened. The rules are written the way they are for very good reasons. On the other hand, many gypsies and travellers find that many obstacles are put in their way when trying to find homes for their families and businesses, whether temporary or permanent. The slight advantages that they have in planning rules can easily be outweighed by other disadvantaging factors. This is possibly the most problematic aspect of the story that's been reported, the perception that facts are being distorted for planning advantage. You can possibly agree with the statement, for example, that the District Council have said that there will be some sites available, new sites available soon. None of us have answers to the underlying problems: housing pressures, high prices of land, and the shortage of sites for gypsies and travellers.
Are you asking me questions?
Certainly am, yes. There seems to be taking, I thought we had a few minutes to answer questions. This seems to be taking us further away from the solution. So to rephrase my question, do we agree that our role should be ensured that the planning process works fairly for the common good of all? Do we agree that we cannot do this if we exacerbate the already deep sense of unfairness among so many participants? I don't believe that Councillor Manning is racist, but it is vital that we do everything in our that we can to avoid the perception that any of us are. And I hope we can take this opportunity to do this.
Councillor Topping.
Thank you, Chair. This is a question directed at the leader, and I will answer. Planning decisions in this council will be made on the basis of facts and the application of the relevant planning laws to those facts. We have a district council cross-party planning committee made up of very hard-working members drawn from all political persuasions and none. The planning committee works well on that basis. And I would say, to those concerns to which Councillor Van Der they will be best met by demonstrating that this council delivers to all members of all our communities the services to which they are entitled. The lasting impression of this council, for most people, is of excellent service, delivered locally, and members working hard for their communities.
Do you have a follow-up? Councillor Toomey, moving on. Thank you. Toomey Hawkins. Sorry. I read what was in front of me.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you. Just one clarification quickly. My question was in relation to specific statements by Councillor Manning. If Councillor Topping is happy to answer the question as it's indicated.
Councillor Topping. Press the button.
Okay, I got it. My answer to Councillor Timmy's question is I congratulate all members of this chamber who have secured an electoral mandate. We all know how hard it is to do that. It is hard work. On the specific questions or elements of the question to do with psephology, the study of election results, we have an excellent website. It holds all the data on election results. Some seats can be described as the bellwether of political fortune in the same way that some national seats can be. The information is on the website. I commend it to those who have the time. Thank you.
Do you have a follow-up, Councillor Hawkins?
Oh, yes. I do. Councillor Topping, thank you for not answering the question.
Yes, again.
Again. I cannot help but wonder how much longer anyone can actually say that they are empty, safe with their seats. And I say that in the light of the new proposed board boundaries that have been drawn up by the Boundaries Review champion. And for those who don't know, it seems to me that the supposed safety seats, or rather, a lot of the seats held by leaders now, have been carved up to the extent that it's almost like you're trying to
remove us off the face of the planet. And your seats have been strengthened. So no doubt, such gerrymandering will carry on to keep you in power. However, the statement that I have quoted, which Councillor Manning actually did say, it will seem, if you're not given